So what's the whole flow of the Maamre? The flow of the Maamre is elaborating on the explanation of the Frierdiker Rebbe, who is explaining the Oitzer, the treasure that is granted to every Yid to achieve the ultimate victory when the very state is at stake. So what's the Oitzer? What is that Oitzer? That Oitzer is conveyed in the words in the Zohar, Oir in Sof, L'mayla, Mayla, Adin Ketz. That is the Oitzer. To understand that Oitzer is to appreciate the conclusion of that statement, that phrase in the Zohar, which is Lamata Mata Adin Tachlis, by appreciating the reach, as it were, the descent of the Oir in Sof. And what that means, then this gives us an appreciation of the Maila Adin Ketz, which is granted to every Jew through that's the foot soldiers, through the officers who convey it to the foot soldiers, the officers being the Rebbeim, and the foot soldiers are us, in order to achieve the victory. And in all of this, the king himself is mashlich chayav mineged, the king himself, when it comes to the very stake, the survival, the very essence, identity, raison d'etre of the state. So he himself casts his life before himself, literally. So all of this again is to explain the Maila Adin Tachlis. Now the Frierdiker Rebbe had said, so far, we should, well, the Maamre is going to quote it. So he explained in Ois Yud Beis, where Ois Yud Gimel, in Ois Yud Beis explained that the reach, we see the incredible reach, the descent of Oir in Sof, that it creates Hisavus, creates the lowest creations, the most finite creations. The Chiddush of Ois Yud Gimel, and that's why he adds the word Echad, Yud Gimel b'Gematria Echad. Now it occurs to me is because not only does he create, but his oneness, his presence is revealed there. His pashtus and the gilui of the Oir himself. Now, to understand that, he introduced the Baal Shem Tov's Vort. And what's the essence of the Baal Shem Tov's Vort? That it's negeya for us. L'chora, it would appear, although as I told you, I don't yet fully understand the last few lines of this ois. I've begun the discussion with several mashpiyim, and we'll see where that goes. So far, the jury is out. Akoponim, what's the nekud of this ois is that there's a lot of quotations and moving parts. So just the nekud of this, we can talk about the Zohar. So the Zohar, which is synonymous of tachtim, shniyim, ushlishim, of the Teva, which is really the Vort of the Baal Shem Tov, is on that pasuk. So the Zohar likewise talks about three dargis and says that the Eibishter has three oilimus. Now the question is, what is these three oilimus without repeating the whole arichus and the various dargis? Now the Rebbe reconciles the Shalah even with the Ramez and therefore the Baal Shem Tov, not repeating all of that. The Nekuda is that the Baal Shem Tov said that the three dargis are from the bottom up, oilimus, neshamas, and alikus. And this, the Alter Rebbe says, accords most with the Pirush of the Ramez on the Zohar, who says the three dargis are Eilumus, was from the bottom up then. From the bottom up, since we just defined the Baal Shem Tov the bottom up. So likewise, the Ramez will say the bottom up, and that is Bia, Atzilus, and Ak. Ak equals Eilumus Ein Sof. And that accords most of the Baal Shem Tov's Pirush, obviously, because Baal Shem Tov Elikus is Ak Eilumus Ein Sof, Neshamas Atzilus, and Eilumus Bia. Now, the end of the ois, I'll just give the bottom line, the chora, at least the sector yeshloimer. My problem is that I'm not clear the difference between the yeshloimer and the Pirish of the Baal Shem Tov, as he explains it. At any rate, so the yeshloimer is to address the following. What's the difference between Atzilus and Olam Ein Sof? Why is there even a question? Atzilus, Olam Ein Sof, finished. What's the difference between one darg and the other? What's the question? The question is, Atzilus itself is Ein Sof, and it's an Olam. So what exactly is the difference? If you're talking the Pshitus of Ein Sof, obviously there's a difference. There's no Kelim, there's no Hagbola, there's no Gvul. But you're saying it's Olam Ein Sof, so there is Hagbola. So what's the difference between the Hagbola of Ein Sof and Atzilus? So this, he answers, is similar to the in Atzilus Guf for the difference between what? Oris and Kelim. As expressed succinctly in the Maamar HaZohar, that Iyu v'chayer chad, Iyu v'garmoyer chad. He is one with his life force, that's the oil. He is one with his garmoyer. Groma means causations, that's the literal translation. It refers to the Kelim. So, as explained in Chassidus, it doesn't say Iyu v'chayer v'garmoyer chad. It says Iyu twice, which means that the unity is not the same. That the unity expressed in Oyer is not the same as the unity expressed in Kelim. So whatever that means, which we're not elaborating on, but it's clear just in its simple meaning. Obviously, in his revelation, he's more, in his bli gvul, he's more expressed than in his gvul, at least to the observer. Turns out, of course, in the end, that Keich HaGvul and the Kelim are really deeper natzmus, but that's not the issue right now. On the contrary, we're talking the overt revelation. So, similarly, is the difference between Atzilus and Olam Ein Sof. Olam Ein Sof is Iyu v'chayohi, and Atzilus is Iyu v'garmohi. Even though in Atzilus there's Oyer and Keli, but what dominates Atzilus is the Keli relative to the Olam Ein Sof. What dominates Atzilus relative to Bias, the Oyer. Everything is relative. So that's the end, it seems, the final point of this ice. So the Rebbe is bringing all of this in order to explain the statement of the Frierdiker Rebbe. What did the Frierdiker Rebbe say? So we should actually look at, you can just turn the page back because he quotes it completely, almost entirely. Beginning of verse base. We should just look at it here again. Second line, Zel Shoyna. I'm going to say it in English only, so that we cover the ground. So that which the Zohar says, Lamat adin tachlis. So this refers to, this is the Chiddush in Yisud Gimel. Gilui and Ispashtus. All the way down. The most latter and lowest levels. And that's the meaning of Oyer itself, Lamat adin tachlis, that the Ispashtus of the Oyer, even the lowest levels is in a way of Ein Sof and Bli Gvul, all the way to the lowest levels. Now, okay, then Rebbe added a commentary. Now it's the rest of it that he's commenting in. No, it's effort to go to the original. He doesn't quote the part now that he's about to. So if you all have Yisud Gimel, it's in the beginning of your. Beginning of your kuntres. Then he goes on to say, so that Likus is the point, that Likus is revealed in Olam Atzilus, and he makes one package here. So I rewind. That Likus is revealed in Olam Ein Sof and Atzilus, one category. That's not the Chiddush. The Chiddush is Bia all the way to the lowest levels. He puts that in one category. And then he says, drawing the distinction between Atzilus and higher and the lower Elamus, he invokes also from the Zohar that Atzilus is like analogous to and the neshama and the guf, where the guf is alive, they fuse, they one, not a lavush. Whereas olam is biyah, that is akin to a lavush, is something extraneous. That's where otherness emerges. Atzilus is not other than God. It's a likus. But biyah is a lavush. Then he goes on to say, quoting from Pasach Eliyahu, that was going to be Dayak and all of this. In Pasach Eliyahu and Zohar said that you kam levushim tekinas line. You made many levushim. That's biyah. And what is biyah? Levushim to the oil of the kelim of Atzilus. Because that is like a guf to the neshama. Now that darg is invested in the levush. And then he says, and it says in Zohar that Eima Ilah Bina, that's Bina Datzilus, Mekalan B'Kursaya. What's Kursaya? Kursaya is, again, I told you, Vidan, an elaborate chair. It's referring to Elam Akise, which is Bria. So Bina is of Atzilus, rests in Bria. This will be explained. The 6 spheres in Yitzira and Oifen, which goes on Malchus and Asir. So Biyah is Mata. Conclusion, that's all of Ushim. Whereas Atzilus and Haya is Kegufel and Ishmosa. Ain't Pella Kol Kach that Erin Tzof is revealed there. The Pella is Dafka Lamata and Biyah. Now, the Rebbe elaborates on this now. Having just said what he did, namely, Rebbe is not mechalek between Atzilus and Lamayim Atzilus. It's in one category. Rebbe just did now. This is this whole beard here of the Tachtim Shneim Shlishim that comes out according to the Ramez. That's what he wants to arrive at. The Ramez is Pirush. So why is he saying that? Let's go further. At first, a gulp of coffee. We're following so far, more or less, the geography. More or less. If there's any particular question, ask, because others we're going to build on shaky foundations. We're drawing the architectural plans now. Now we have to fill it, but the plans got to be right. Others we're not going to be. Okay, let me just have to check some. Guys, are you hearing me clearly? Because there's always problems with this microphone.
Yeah,
It's a clear. Okay.
I hear you clear.
You're on page Gimel?
Yeah. Page Gimel. I'm using the Maamre. It's the last ice of an ice base. The second, how many ice? 1, 2, third paragraph of ice base. Okay, good. Dinyan bazeh dihinei behemshech bal haylulo nichlokim heim lebeis chalukos. So we're talking now Beistalshalos. So in the Maamre, he only makes 2 divisions, 2 distinctions. We just made this distinction between, he made 3. Tachtim, Shneim, Shlishim. We spoke about the Olam Sof and Atzilus and Biyah, which are Nifrodim. That's the conclusion. However, in the Maamre, it's Beis Chalukas. Yeah, and what are they? Olam Sof, Olam Atzilus, that's one Geder. The infinite worlds and Olam Atzilus. Infinite worlds, again, is synonymous with what darge? What word, what catchphrase? Ak, Adam Kadam, that's the point. To refresh your memory or to test your memory, and just another, what exactly is expressed in Adam Kadman? The primary Ana Emlech that the Medrash speaks of, that this is the whole motive of creation. the desire for yeah. Pre-Tzimtzum, there's no articulation of anything. It's the pshitus of Velikus. In post-Tzimtzum, there emerges the articulated desire, Ana Emler. I want to be king. That's Elam Ein Sof. That's Ak. Beifan Klali. Obviously, the fact that they have different names, there's no one's dargis there, but that's Beifan Klali. So again, so in the Maimel, the Hemshech, the Balai Lulav, the Fidik Rebbe, we just gave 3, there's 2. Elam Ein Sof, Elam Atzilus. That's one category. In Velam is Bia. Ach bepratius, as we just said, just more in more detail. Yesh chiluk bein Elam Ein Sof, Elam Atzilus Gufa. There is the distinction that we just referred to between Elam Ein Sof and Atzilus. Elam Ein Sof Belikus Mamesh. Again, like Iva Chaya, Iva Gadmoy. That's the final point. That Elam Ein Sof, that's Belikus Mamesh. Interesting lashon here, very interesting expression. There could be. There is the inyan of kelim. Why do you think he says that? Why not just say that Elam Atzilus is the inyan of kelim?
Because it's not. Atzilus is the world beyond above kelim.
So there is or there isn't. He just said. Yes, the inyan shel kelim.
There's the Indian, but it's not like
no,
kelim of beyond. It's not the same Indian of kelim.
So say then.
Kelim are like
so then say in Atzilus yesh inyan kelim. What's the yochel liyes v'yesh na inyan? I'm asking.
Maybe in the areas also have the areas that have a sheikhs to be in kelim.
That's the yochel liyes. How does that answer the word there could be kelim?
So even without the kelim, the areas could have a capacity to be areas that go.
Okay, that may be, but something just simpler that is conveyed in the very words themselves. That there's a chiddush. There's a chiddush yochel liyes that there could be the inyan of kelim. There's a new narrative, a new language here. It starts off and first the possibility and it emerges. Now, it's bringing out the chiddush b'dov.
It's not the Gilui, there isn't. But in other words, mitzad the achdus of Atzilus, there shouldn't be any separate entity like Kalim. But there is.
So then say there is again. That's not answering the yochel liyos.
Because they aren't really a separate entity. Because at the end it's Iva Gamai.
Yeah, all right. So everybody's kind of saying the same thing. So as he goes further, so what's Atzilus in such a way? That Likus can unite with Kalim. What's the Ella? What's the Ella? What's the Bat? Because he just said that what is the inyan of Kalim, there's Gvul. So if that's all he said, we're left with, at the end of the day, Atzilus is Gvul, and that's it, something other on some level. Ella, it's in such a way that Likus comes betzimtzum, bitzlapshus, achi yochel iskashirim kelim. That Likus can be bound up with kelim. Let's read a little bit further before we comment further. As we said before the end of the previous also the difference between Elam and Atzilus is like the general difference in Atzilus itself between he is united with his Oil and he is united with his Kelim. even though it's one at the end for both, there's a difference. Okay. Let's read further. And he has since at the end of the day, Atzilus, both the Oid and the Keli, it's all one with him. Not in the same way as it is in Olam Ein Sof, but still nonetheless Chad. Like Olam is Biyash, unlike Biyah below, which are separate. So this is what he says in the Maimon Defidi Rebbe. So the respect to Olam Ein Sof and also Atzilus, that we just drew a subtle distinction between the two, but at the end of the day, inescapably, it's what Chad, even Kelim Atzilus. So therefore, the conclusion is She'ein Pella Klal Doirin Sof Meirisham Begila. It's not a Pella that Doirin Sof is revealed in. Now, let's just say here in all of this, because the huge danger is to megashim the holding in here in our minds, which would naturally tend to do Oir and Keli, vessels and light. As we point out frequently, it's there's the inherent, and get lost in these words, and that's where it starts and ends. So what does it mean? What does Keli mean? Bechlal? What does Oir mean? So obviously Keli means containment, Oir is revelation. But what does it mean that Keli is Chad, not Chad, yes Chad? In general, this is in general terms, but then there's distinctions that follow, but this is the general idea. Chad means this, that the koyach hagvul there in Olam Atzilus, the Keli, and certainly in the Olam Ein Sof, simply expresses that Hashem can reveal himself in Gvul. Not less. Biyah already Gvul, since it's Nifred, it's already less than. And the further down you go in Biyah, less and less and less. Less means less him, more independence. But in the Olam Ein Sof and in the Olam Atzilus, what's common to both of them, there is, not lost, there is, that what is this Koyach HaGvul? It's David's Shleimus. He can express himself in Gvul and Gvul, and it's all him equally. In Atzilus already, there's this quasi emergence already of Gvul screening. Two things happen. This is what happens with Gvul. Number one, it screens the source, giving a sense of independence on some subtle level. It's called therefore Olam Atzilus, but for that matter, Olam Ein Sof are also called Olam Ein Sof, because there is this element of Gvul. And together with that, what happens is that the Svidas themselves, the Midas themselves, the Gvul themselves, start to call attention, as it were, to their own mind. It's not just that he is eclipsed from it, but what he has produced is something wonderful and incredible. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Chabad.
The sphere is Kalim, is that what it is?
Yes, the Sfira component, I mean, it's both, but the Sfira, what makes it a Sfira is the Keli. But I'm saying is this point that the lower down you go, what it means is the more the Midah itself is independently impressive. Chesed. With Atzilus, it's your chesed. That's why chesed is chesed. That's its beauty. That's its truth. That's not lost. The kelis meyuchad with the oir means the iya b'chayachad, even gamayachad is that in the keli, not to the same level as the oir, because I'm already talking about a description. But still, not lost is, what is this description? It's your choice to express yourself this way. This is the meaning of Havayu Holikim. That's what it means. In general, Havaya, your infant revelation. Oir, Pshitus. Elokim, your descriptive, finite revelations. Hu, it's all Atzmut, it's all you. That's the objective truth. When did we see that? But Sinai, Ata Reis Aladas, that's when that truth was. But by divine design, we're locked into, naturally, pre-avoida, that A, we don't feel him. B, therefore we feel independent. C, it's all connected. These virtues are all virtuous inherently, independently. Beauty, fury, intelligence, these are mindless. Commandment. Mindless that the whole world would agree is a mindless. Without elikus. Seichel is a mindless. Chesed is a mindless. Word of might is a mindless. Beauty is a mindless. These are the whole world will agree that these are virtues. There's degree. That's what is sought after. And they become avodah zarah. These virtues become in and of themselves mindless, to be pursued and to be obtained, completely oblivious that it's all him.
So given that, what's happening in Atzilus?
What's happening in Atzilus is that all of the spheres are expressing this. Here is Hashem deciding to express himself through Chacham. Here is the Eibishter. The Eibishter, it's all Atzilus says Yichudi Ilah. What's between Yichudi and Yichudi Tata is this, is the starting point. The starting point, Yichudi Ilah, is Eibishter. Yichud, the Eibishter decided to express himself like this. Yichud Tata means the starting point is, this is a beautiful thing. Where does it come from? You. And as you go down, where it comes from you is less obvious, requires greater insight, because his presence is concealed.
And then Olam is itself, meaning is that concept of still applying there in some Indian?
Olam is itself.
Speaking relative Atzilus to.
So, l'chayda is a yesh loimer, my suggestion. So what is it between Olam is itself and Atzilus exactly? Olam, the infinite Olam is. Olam is itself express this. You can express yourself in finitude of any kind. So even the gvul is a bleak gvul. Atzilus says you decide to express yourself these 10 ways. So once it's locked into these 10 ways, there's already a hardcore system emerging. But the precursor to that is Olam is Ein Sof, that says you can express yourself in endless gvul. Atzilus is this gvul, these 10 spheres. So the definition is greater. And therefore, it's a little more insight. It's much easier to see in the gvul of Ein Sof, Ein Sof, it's all you, because it doesn't have to be even you. Each gvul says it could be any gvul. But as the Sfira say, no, it's these 10. The 10, God's bound to 10. He chose to express himself 10 ways. There's a discussion here. First is 10. What's 10? Esev alei, Teisha esev alei, Achadasar. Because he chose 10. It doesn't in Sof enough to have that discussion 10. It's the Inyan of Gvul. Bli Gvul ways. Trying to put it in I don't have the answer myself yet. Maybe it'll emerge now. Like, why did the Rabbi have to do this? What's Negeya? For us, in the context of the mind, to have this distinction between the Olam in Sof and Atzilus. Okay, it's just being, but it being basbir, but the fact if we never made it one category. So what's the,
In the end, the Rebbe kind of lands that it's one category anyways, but there's distinctions between.
so that's the whole thing. He's just giving us, no, it's going to be, I didn't learn it through, I didn't think fully yet, but the point is that it's going to bring us to a deeper hasbara in the Inyan. Let's see. It's not just additional information and commentary inserted. That's the word. Okay, so let's say again. Where are we now? Yeah, so at the end of the day, again, so l'chora we have some hasbara, yeah. What does it mean the kelim are united? And what's in between the Olam Ein Sof and Atzilus? So Chevra, we learned the Maamre, if to stop and just hit the pause button and just clearly like what are we talking about? And again, invite the McGill student to sit there and explain it to him. And if you can do it, and he says, I think I get it, you're doing all right. Sometimes he's very kind, he gives us a pass. He sees we don't really understand, but you're kind of do so, okay.
In the words.
I think I told you that the celebrated, famous, beloved Mashpia in Lubavitch, the Pshilim, we read to his life story of Pshilim Koratim. It was a gewaldige Pnimi, it goes without saying, but he used to sit in the Zal. He was the Mashpia. He used to sit in the Zal and for hours just, he wasn't approachable thinking. So he could have done that in his room. He'd prefer to. But part of it was just this message here, that this requires a lot of, what does it mean? A lot of toil. And what does it mean? What does it mean? First of all, what does it mean? What does it mean? Exactly, what does it mean to me? That's the ikar of it, of the whole thing. Dargis and that. What's the Maamre saying to me? That's the main avoid. But still, all of that requires a lot of introspection. So real chassid's davening, a lot of it is just spent in thinking. I'll have to understand and be to apply it. And to feel it. In the famous Ayom Yom. Chassidus before davening is the student with the teacher, maybe the teacher, the student. And in davening, it's feeling it, it's child and father. We'll stop here. We'll read today's story.